sure we've started. Have we started? We have started. Right, we're going to have a little look at our second design, and this is a weaving design. So some of you will be familiar with weaving already if you've done the Zeus weaving design, which was designed for Etta, or if you've done the Lambda. We're using the same technique, but I've developed a new weaving design for you. So what we're going to do, you're going to print out your 2 pages and you're going to cut along the dotted line above and to the side of your design, whether that's to the left or the right, design. And you can use these any way you want, really. I mean, they're designed to go like that, but if you wanted to use them that way, or indeed you could cut a line off and have them going that way. You could do them any way you wanted to, but you know, it's very much your call. So anyway, having cut the 2 dotted lines, cut along the 2 dotted lines, take your Etta pouch panel. Remember, the one that's got the little tab on the top, so this little bit here is the top of the pouch, and match up that top line of your template and the side of your template with the edges of your panel, and use a little bit of decorator's tape or masking tape, whichever you like to call it. Depends where you are in the world. I'm in the UK, so we tend to call it masking tape, but it's that paper stuff that doesn't leave residue when you pull it off, so used for decorating. You're going to need a sharp craft knife, and often I use, well, something, this is a screwdriver, but for this practice we'll call it a pokey tool, because that's what I use it for. And you will need some pieces of faux leather or cork or any kind of non-fraying fabric. So real leather would work, corduroy would work, and these need to be just shy, so a scant 1/4 inch wide. Cut them with a rotary cutter and a ruler, and you'll get really nice, clean, accurate strips. So those are your weave strips. So we're going to start by cutting our weave design. Now, I don't use a ruler, I just do this freehand. These are only small marks, and each of these black lines that you have on the pattern are where you're going to cut. The grey or bluey bits are where the leather is going to show through, so that gives you an idea of what the design is going to look like at the end. So, to cut, all I do is put the blade of my knife right at the top of the line, and I pull it towards me. So I push it through the template and the faux leather, and then I pull it down towards my body. Don't ever try and cut away from yourself, because you'll find that your knife won't cut properly. They're not designed to cut away. And I just continue to go along the lines. And I try and go from sort of left to right or right to left, whichever suits me better, because it's very easy to miss one. And if you've missed a line when you're cutting, going back and finding it or putting the template back on once you've taken it off is next door to impossible. So it's easier to make sure that you've cut everything in your sort of first row of cutting, your first sort of time of cutting. So kind of going in some kind of a methodical order is the best way to do it. It's the easiest way to make sure you don't miss something anyway. Now, this doesn't take very long to cut. So those with sort of arthritic hands or arthritic wrists, and I have arthritis in my wrists, this one won't kill you. Some of the more complex ones are quite challenging to cut, because you have to put quite a reasonable amount of pressure to make sure that you're going through the faux leather, depending on how thick your faux leather is. And you find that it actually makes your wrists ache after a while, which is why some people like to use cutting machines for this. So there we go. That's the entire design cut. And you can see that took, well, less than 4 minutes, because the video is only up 4 minutes, 50 something seconds. So that's all my pieces cut. Now, if you're worried that you haven't cut right the way through, just take the point of your knife and just you can see there that that's cut right the way through without any bother at all. And you can just turn it over and just check that the blade is coming through. So then you can remove your template. And this is where you go into panic mode, because suddenly all of your little cuts have disappeared. However, if you, I don't know if you can see that, I think you probably can. If you just pull your faux leather slightly, you'll see they all reappear magically again. So they are there, they're just dormant, shall we say. So I'm going to take one of my little weave strips and I'm just going to pull my faux leather so that I can see those cuts that I've made. And I'm going to start on the top, on this top row. And I need to find the first hole in the top row, and that is the first hole. Now, there are several things I either like to push through just from the front with my pokey tool. And you can see it's just pushed it through. Just make sure that I've gone into the first hole and not missed one. No, that's fine. And then I can, on the other end, you can see I've made a little point. And I'm just going to use that point to push my faux leather through the next hole. And some faux leather will thread easier than others. This one doesn't want to play. So I'm just going to use my pokey tool and pull. And this is like the weaving that you used to do at school. So you're going to come from the back through the next hole. Don't try and go through too many holes before you pull it, because you'll rip the faux leather. You just need to pull it so that it's tight enough, not too tight. If you make it too tight, it'll pucker the host faux leather, which is really not pleasant. You're just going to keep going in and out. When you get to the last hole, you can use the scissors. We're just going to cut off, leaving approximately 1/2 inch. And I'm not measuring that, it's not an exact, I've got a little tiny bit of faux leather that's extra there. So take your next panel, next line, and you're going to go and do exactly the same thing again in the next row of holes. So there we go, push that end in. Let's try that one again. I'm not trying to push it through the hole very well. You can, if you want to, if it makes it easier, use a little bit of sellotape wrapped around the end of this, which makes it quite stiff and effectively creates almost like a needle that you can thread through with. I just find I get a bit mucked up with sellotape. I prefer to use something to poke through rather than sellotape, but it's each to his own, and it rather depends on how thick or how stretchy your faux leather is. So there we go, finished, cut off to about 1/2 inch. And we're just going to continue to do this all the way down to the bottom of the design. This is quite a simple weave design, it's not complicated or difficult, so it's achievable for everybody. I don't want anybody to think, oh, she's done something too difficult for me, especially those of you who've looked at the coloured in reverse applique and have gone, oh, I can't do that. Give it a go. It takes the tiniest amount of faux leather. So, you know, if it doesn't work and you don't like the effect, you can go, well, I tried that. You know, wasn't for me. But sometimes I think we're too scared to try stuff, and that's a shame, because there are so many interesting things we can do with our bags, decoration wise, if we just try stuff. And a lot of stuff I try doesn't work, but a lot of stuff does. So, you know, it's really nice to be able to come up with new or unusual decorative techniques, or even techniques that are actually perhaps used in a different sewing discipline. So things from quilting or you know, that kind of thing. I'll have a go at anything, me. I like a good decorative technique. Some work, some don't. And again, about 1/2 inch. That one's a bit long, so I'm just going to remove the extra bit of that. And you can see we're kind of gradually building this design. And this doesn't take long. It's quite therapeutic. It takes less time if you're not talking through it. I hope I'm not disappearing off camera as well, because, excuse me, talking, weaving and filming, that's a bit much. Now you'll notice that all of these techniques that we're using, I'm not actually going to post my finished pouches, because I think sometimes people are intimidated if they see something finished and they think, oh, I can't do that. So I want you to try it and just give it a go without seeing something finished. So you have to, it's going to be based on trust. And if you don't think you're going to manage it and you're not sure, just take a small square of scrap faux leather and some strands of scrap faux leather and try it on a piece that's sort of spare, rather than wasting a whole panel like this if you're really concerned that you can't do it. The easiest way to learn something is to try it. And I'm not sure there's a right or wrong way to do weaving. This is just how I do it. This is what works for me. You must make sure that you don't get any kind of wrinkles in your faux leather. It's easy to suddenly find you've got a twist at the back there. I've done that before, and you think, what's that lump? What's that lump? So just take it slowly and be conscious of what's going on at the back as well as the front. And you can see it's not taking a long time to build. And you're going to be doing sort of the mirror image on the other side, whichever direction or orientation you choose to do the weaving. If you want to do the weaving on both sides, then I would suggest a mirror image would probably look better than anything else. Although that's your call. It's your design, you do what you want with it. You don't even only have to use it twice, you could use it 4 times. So here, and on the other panel. So you could use it both times, both on the other panel, or you could use it up the sides. There's just so many things you can do with this. Cut that down. I don't think I need such a long piece. And just coming down to the last couple of strips here now. And then I'll show you how to secure the weaving. And you've got a couple of options really for securing. It's very much your call again. Oops. And there we are. My weaving is complete. And you can see once that's doubled up how that's going to look really cool. It's going to be a sort of a V of design on the front. Now you're actually 3/4 of an inch away from the centre line, which this is joined together with the next part. So there'll be a slight gap between the two, but you don't want any of these bits in the seam allowance in the middle, because otherwise you'll never get it to sit nicely. So let's just trim these down to about 1/2 an inch. And then what we do is we can either use a little bit of Fabri-Tac, and we can pop a bit of glue underneath each of those pieces, or if you prefer, you can use a little tiny bit of duct tape just popped over on both sides. I like to use glue on the inside bit because I think if you use duct tape it'll end up in the seam in the middle. But it's very much, again, your call if you want to do either of those. I'm not going to do that because it takes ages to do, and I'll do that off camera. Or if you choose to, you can top stitch all the way around the outside of the design, which will catch all of those ends. What you have to do is make sure that you leave enough ends to catch them. Sometimes these ones that are slightly further back will still need to be glued. But you can top stitch around the outside. You can do what you want if you've done that much and you think, oh, I like that. That looks really cool. What you can do is you can take the entire design and leveling it up, you can put another layer of it so that you've got it makes a square effectively as opposed to the triangle. And then you can do the same thing on the other side. So you've got a band of weaving that goes right the way around your bag. Really, really, really very much your call. You could put it that way or that way. You can kind of mix and match it as you want to. The design is small enough that you can accommodate 4 of them on each panel if you position it or if you orientate it the right way. But play with it, make it yours. I've given you the design. I want to see what you can do with it. This challenge is about creativity. It's about using a little bit of something that I give you for you to create something special. So go for it, ladies.